Here, do you believe the people sitting in Beijing have their world under control, or do you think the most incredible Ponzi in history has been created there with 30 trillion of debt that's beginning to fracture and unwind and fall apart? I believe the latter.
Hold on, where's the Ponzi, though?
The Ponzi is they built the thing through borrowing, and they built massive amounts of white elephants.
That's very typical for an emerging market.
No, nothing.
In the history of mankind, America was deeply in debt in the late 19th century because we were borrowing to build the railroads from the Europeans. That's been true with every emerging market. Doesn't make it always right, but it doesn't make it always wrong.
No, but I would beg to disagree with you that the scale of it, the magnitude of it, is off the charts and never happened. China had 1 trillion of debt in 1996. It has 30 trillion today. Nothing goes up 30x where you don't have markets, you don't have financial discipline, you have a banking system that is basically an appendage of the Communist Party that allocates credit down a cascade and GDP back up. This system is highly unstable. It is falling apart. They overbuilt everything. They got a 1.2 billion tons of steel capacity, maybe a half a billion tons of demand. They produced more cement in 3 years than we did in a whole century, the whole 20th century. You have to look at the massive overinvestment. Now, what's happening is billionaires are disappearing every day. Factories are closing. Jobs are going to disappear. And the idea that you're going to have a smooth transition to a consumption and service-led economy, I think, is absurd. So when demand in China falls, the whole oil equation of the world is going to suffer, and as a result of that, we're going to be in the 20s, I believe, as far as the eye can see, and that means that all the debt in the world that's predicated on $50 or $70 oil is going to be in default, and the sovereign wealth funds of the world, which accumulated from 1 trillion to 7 trillion of excess assets, are going to be liquidating those assets.
And we're seeing that. We're seeing that happen on the sovereign wealth side. But how about all the industries that should be benefiting from lower oil prices? Why aren't we seeing those earnings do well?
Well, because all of the industries of the world are overbuilt. The shipbuilding business will be dead for a decade. The mining business will be dead for a decade. Caterpillar is heading nowhere but down.
But that doesn't explain why don't consumers, for example, who are saving money, I fill up my truck, which guzzles gas, for $1.81 a gallon now. Why can't I take that money, pay down some of the debt I have, or even go and buy clothes at the mall or pay for meals at restaurants? Aren't consumers doing that?
They're absolutely doing that. That's why restaurant sales were up 9% last year. It's being reallocated. But people forget we're a big producer now. Last year we consumed 19.4 million petroleum barrels a day. We produced, with the NGL liquids, crude and ethanol, 13.5. We only imported 29%, which is 2 billion barrels a year, which every $10 is a rounding error. It's 1/10 of 1% of GDP. So the oil thing is not going to lift the GDP of the U.S. economy. It's smashing F-150 Ford truck sales in Texas.
Okay, we've got your bear market call across the world. An instant Bloomberg question coming in. Would you buy gold here?